Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Premier Sim Gaming League's round number 6 here of PSGL F2, and we're pretty much at the halfway point of the season. We had 5 races before tonight, and we've got 5 after tonight, but who will triumph at the Temple of Speed here at Monza? It is the Italian Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Joining me in the commentary box after his absence last week, thankfully, he's feeling a bit better tonight. It is Chris Buxton, and Chris, as I've said, we're pretty much at the halfway point, but we are no clearer to understanding who's going to take the victory in this championship.
Not at all. No, I absolutely love that. We are indeed in Tifosi territory for round number 6. It's the beautiful Monza. And yeah, we've had only one person has managed to claim 2 wins this season, which is Alfie Butcher, claiming a storming win last time out at Suzuka. And he's missed 2 rounds. He's only 5 points off the championship lead, which Ruben Pedreño has, who out of the 5 rounds has been on the podium 3 times. That he's finished outside the points last time. Luke Smith is right there as well, only 4 points off the back of Pedreño. He's had a win. Joost has had a win, but has missed 3 rounds. And you pick a name. It can go absolutely any way. But we are heading into qualifying. So hopefully we'll start to figure out who's hot and who's not around the beautiful Monza.
Yeah, let's take a look then at the Monza circuit. You can see it on screen, 5.793 kilometres, 3.6 miles, only 11 corners and the 2 DRS zones. 1 towards the Variante Rettifilio and 1 towards Variante Ascari. And I mean, we saw last night things can get pretty close, things can get a bit tough, especially on the final lap when drivers are battling side by side. It is a bit of a slipstream fest, and it's not really the easiest over circuit to overtake on. Yes, you've got obviously the big braking zones into the chicanes, but the slipstream of a DRS, because of the low downforce, doesn't usually have as big of an effect as it does on other tracks.
That's the thing, isn't it? Is that this track is all about pressure management. You've got to be able to apply the pressure and deal with the pressure. Now that sounds like an obvious statement because you're always in a pressure environment, but with certain tracks that has more overtaking opportunities, or certainly more big heavy braking zones where you can chuck it up the inside and you kind of expect that move to happen, it makes that kind of defense a little bit easier, a little bit more predictable. But here you tend to find drivers a little bit more a little bit more creative, and what's just caught me out is everyone is flooding out of the pits. A little bit cloudy, I see in the qualifying, but okay, we don't normally see almost the entire grid flood out at once. I wonder if we've got rain coming in this qualifying session, because almost everybody has come out right at the beginning of the session.
Yeah, like you said, we normally don't see this. Understandably, everyone is going to be out there on a set of the soft tyres at the moment. No qualifying rule for the top 10, so it makes sense to be out on those tyres. So like you said, the majority of the field, 17 of the cars heading out in the first minute, and I think that is quickly going to head up to all of the cars, with Will Lewis being one of the last cars to make his way out onto the circuit. So we do have a few replacements tonight in terms of the drivers that are going to be taking part in this race. Probably one of the the biggest news in terms of the replacements is Danny Lusink is back after his 3-race ban at Miami. He is replacing for tonight Simon Perigny. We've also got Will Lewis as a reserve driver, Jack Leverty making his debut this season as well as a reserve, and I'm just trying to look for the list. We've got Chan Akinci also reserving in the Alfa Romeo as well, and Chan, he's put in some pretty decent performances so far, despite only being a reserve driver, but it'll be interesting to see how he does across the season. Let's see what Georges Nader can do on this lap around the Monza circuit. He's going to be the first man to set a lap time, 350 kilometers per hour, down towards the chicane, almost reaching 220 miles per hour as he flicks his way right and then left through that Rettifilio reprofile in the early 2000s. Hug the right-hand side as you come through the curve of Glandy, taking quite a bit of curb there. These drivers might be running a bit less FPS than they are used to, given more recent events, as he now makes his way in towards the second chicane, the Roggia chicane, arguably one where you might see a few more overtakes tonight, possibly even then the Rettifilio. Now the only real medium speed corners in this part of the circuit, heading through the double Lesbos. Make sure you get a good exit through there as you open the DRS right again once more through this tiny little kink underneath the old Monza banking, last used way back in 1961, and through the Variante Ascari. How much curb do you dare take in these cars? That one on the exit can very easily throw you over and send you towards the barrier on the inside or the outside. now down the parabolica, heading in towards this final corner, named after Michele Alboreto, who was part of that famous 1-2 here in 1988 alongside Gerhard Berger, the only race that McLaren didn't win that season, and it was won by Ferrari as George Dada heads towards the line. 1:18.575, not bad whatsoever, because that's pretty comparable to the pole position time that we saw in F3 earlier, and only about a tenth of a second off what F1 were managing to do yesterday. Obviously, there are slight variations in track conditions, but that's still a very good time from George.
That's a storming time from young Georges Nader there. If what I think is going to happen, if we aren't facing rain during the course of the session, we aren't going to see a great deal of sandbagging going on. Ruben Vallejo has brought his car back in. Pedreño, 18.742. Alfie Butcher, third place in the championship at the moment, 18.793, just half a tenth off the back of the McLaren. Then two of the future esports stars, which is Istvan Pukki. It was Ben Sabaconi, but now Andre Tarabukin's just slotted into fifth position. Oh, Will Lewis was the last car to come out on track, has just slotted in at 18.7. So, wow, with the exception of Floris Valles, good to see Floris back with this as well, but 130.1 is certainly not representative. What just caught me out there is he was very quickly coming out of the first Lesmo corner, still pressing on, but he's going to be banzaiing into the pits as quickly as he can, I would think. Luke Smith also bringing his car back into the pits with no sign of a time lap just yet. So, I think this is going to get pretty hectic. Well, it's going to remain pretty hectic, I think, if we are facing rain during the course of the session. Ruben Vallejo has come back out in the McLaren. It's Luke Smith. Yep, Luke Smith is coming out on a fresh set of soft boots. And yeah, you can see the cloud, look northwards, and the cloud is very much looming. So that's going to put some pressure on Vallejo and Smith. But George Nader, 2 tenths clear up top. Not quite, 1.5 tenths clear up top. And with how close this field generally is, that's not something you normally see.
No, it's definitely not. We saw Floris Valles get very close to running off the circuit. He'll be hoping that he doesn't do that too often. Did get a penalty last week. Got quite a few track limit penalties in the middle of the race, and also managed to pick up a 20-second penalty for a collision with Caden Lutz as well, ruining any chances he had of getting points. Now, we might remember on turn number 1, there was a bit of controversial contact between Luke Smith and Ruben Pedreño. It was turned out that because Luke was slightly squeezed onto the curb, he lost control of the car, and that was judged to be a racing incident in the end. Don't think Ruben was too happy about that one. But Luke Smith and the other Ruben of Vallejo yet to set a lap time. I've definitely got to agree with you. That time from George Dada, let's not forget, Monza, there's only 11 corners, and that's where most of your time is made up in these sessions. It is through the corners. So to have a near enough 2 tenths of a second difference on a circuit with 11 corners is huge.
That's pretty damn impressive. And you also got to remember that George Nader was the first car out. He had no slipstream when he did it. He had absolutely no one right ahead of him. And again, it looks like we're seeing quite a lot of the field coming back out on track with a fresh set of boots. I'm keeping an eye on Ruben Vallejo, who is working his way through the traffic at the moment, although he's not got too many cars ahead of him now. He's just coming through the first Lesmo now and screaming towards Lesmo 2. It's not as banked as it used to be, so drivers are utilising that inside curb more than the old days. I mean, okay, it hasn't been reprofiled since about 2010, but even still, I remember when it was banked a bit more than that. Into Ascari, then down a couple of gears, kiss the apex on the inside, ride that middle part, and then kiss the apex on the exit. Very nicely done. Now screaming down towards the parabolica. Let's see what the second McLaren can get on the board. Ruben Pedreño is second with a 1:18.742. Can he beat his teammate? We will see. He comes through the final turn, straight lines towards the finish, and that is 1:18.636. So he does manage to just about pip his teammate at the moment, as most cars are back on track. A purple sector 3 for Ruben Vallejo.
Yeah, not bad whatsoever there by Ruben Vallejo, getting himself up in towards second place. We'll see what Luke Smith can do and what is likely to be his first valid one. Don't think we're going to see the Ferrari reigning champion diving his way in towards the pit lane. Smith comes across the line. He slots himself in between the two McLarens in third place. So not so bad whatsoever from him at the moment. Just trying to see who is going to be one of the first cars on a lap. I believe again It's very possible. You do tend to see this, that the cars that go out, obviously, first, get back towards the pits first, so not surprising to see George Nader setting a time earlier on. And Chanakinchi, he's only a reserve driver, but he's up there in the championship at the moment. He's done only 2 races, got a podium in one of them, got a very strong finish last time out. He has shown some serious pace, and you never know, the more he races, the more likely he is to get bumped up that reserve list, possibly even get a full-time drive. Wouldn't write him off for the championship just yet, though he has invalidated coming for a Scarvi.
Commentator curse. First one to you, Mr. Etheridge. I'm keeping an eye on Flores Valles, so he's now coming through Lesmo 2, where it all went wrong for him on his last timed attempt. Only 6/10 from 1st to 19th. Again, highlighting how close this field is. So then, what can Flores do? Into a Ascari now. And wow, Alfie Butcher now. He's not going to be outdone by his teammate at 1:18.507 on the ball. Flores picks up a bit of slipstream from one of the Ferraris, I think that was, as he's now coming down towards the Parabolica. Hugs that inside line. You do see different drivers taking different lines through the Ascari. Well, probably through the Ascari as well. And that's a 119 flat for Flores Valles. Was that Ika Baena? Yes, it was. Oh, no, it wasn't. Beg your pardon. I thought Ika Baena just slotted up into 3rd. But he has done at some point 118.590 as he's found Pookie has parked it.
Well, he's not parked it. He's crashed it.
Yeah, he has. He's binned it at Ascari. Oh, dear.
Yeah, we just caught the tail end of that. We just switched to his car to see how he was doing, to spot it basically sideways for a Ascari into the wall backwards. Not a lot of runoff there on the right-hand side, so enough to rip off the left rear tyre, and that is Istvan Pookie, 10th. The best we are going to see him being able to do. Now, on board with Andrei Tarabukin, last time out was the first time he's been classified all season, but he still failed to actually see the checkered flag retiring in the pits in the final stages of the race, so he'll definitely be hoping for a much better performance this time out. He has got himself into 6th, but it is a Williams 1-2 at the moment. Butcher first, Nader second. And talking of how teams are doing well at the moment, you've got Williams doing well in this. They are only 8 points off the top of the Constructors' Championship at the moment. That is being led by Aston Martin on 51 points. McLaren have 46, Williams 43, tied with Alpine. Rory have 37, AlphaTauri 30, Alfa Romeo 28, Red Bull 14, Haas on 5, Mercedes only with 4 points at this point in the season, although I believe Will Lewis is now actually a full-time driver for them, replacing Sam McBride. So, mate, just possibly, no offence to obviously, Will's only had done 1 race so far and he didn't finish, but we'll see whether that new lineup does just invigorate things in that Mercedes squad. But the Williams are looking pretty good at the moment, and Baena getting himself up there in towards 3rd place. Not necessarily a surprise, because we know he's a man that has got pace, but just like we said with so many of these drivers before we came on stream, we've not really seen massive consistency from a lot of the cars, and the ones we have seen the consistency from just haven't been here often enough.
Yeah, this is quite an odd situation to be in, so we'll see how the rest of tonight goes. George Nader back out on circuit on another time lap, so leaving nothing on the table. It doesn't look like the rain has hit, as everybody is getting out there and getting on with the job. We'll see how the remaining laps unfold then, as I think Rim Valeo's just started another time lap, or several cars are starting another time lap. Keeping an eye on Will Lewis, who is just coming through the Parabolica now. How he's straight into the pits then, did not complete that particular lap. Joost Noordijk in the Aston is now coming out as well. It's going to be impossible to keep up with everybody. What about Chanakinchi? He's coming down to the Dall'Orgia. Yeah, I see what you mean by the FPS thing that was highlighted on Twitter in the course of the week. Ben Sabaconi is just slotted into 5th position with a 1:18.726, just 1,000th ahead of Luke Smith and Andrei Tarabukin. So a good effort there from the Haas driver. What about George? Coming through Parabolica then on another time lap. Can he regain that top spot? He improves in time, but not position. Remains in 2nd with an 18.562. He does have time to come back in and slap on another set of boots. Oh my goodness, by thousandths of a second, Ruben Pedreño has slotted into 2nd place, but still no challenge to Alfie Butcher's time.
Yeah, things still looking incredibly close at the moment. Chanakinchi heading towards the line with 2 Alpha reserves down at the bottom of the grid at the moment. Chanakinchi puts himself in towards 10th place. Ikabayena just starting a flying lap for now. 5 minutes to go. Butcher, Pedreño, Nader, Baena and Vallejo, who we've not seen right up towards the top too often this season. He is in 5th place at the moment. And yes, it is incredibly close. 1/10 of a second separating the top 4. A quarter of a second separating your top 10 at the moment. We always do Formula 1 can be a sport of fine margins, and that is definitely being proved to be the case tonight. Just seeing who we've got heading towards the finish line now. I think that was Sabaconi diving his way in towards the pits. Alfie Butcher, I think he's had a slight off on his lap, travelling very slowly through the Lesbos at the moment. Yes, still on top at the moment, and obviously being such a short, in terms of lap time, it's such a short layout. He has still got plenty of time to get back into the pits and get another run on.
Yeah, absolutely true. Just seeing who else is coming towards the completion of their lap. I think the next one's going to be Ika Baena. He's just come through Ascari in the Aston Martin. He's got 2 ahead of him. I have a feeling they are already done their lap. One is Chanakinchi, and he has done his lap. Yes, the other one was a Williams. So next one over the line is going to be Ika Baena. No, he's decided to pit, so will not be completing that one. What about Jack West? Yep, he's on a time lap coming through the final turn. The second of the Aston Dios Nordics just come in, and Jack is also coming in. So finding utilising the time to get a fresh set of tyres on the car. Is anybody else going to head towards... Doesn't look like everyone... Oh, no, Norbert Jakob is going to cross the line. That's up to 6th with a 1:18.721. I think that's 9 drivers, nearly the entire field, with an 18.7.
Yeah, I mean, it's... we've said how close things are at the top of the order. I mean, look at that. Between Jacob and Cartalondi, 77 thousandths of a second, separating 9 cars at the moment. Absolutely... I mean, I say it's crazy. We're just used to seeing this now. This is just bog standard for PSGL F2, and you've got to get everything pretty much perfect if you want to get yourself towards the top of the order. It looks like Butcher, he's on form at the moment for his 3rd pole position of the season. Every time he started from pole so far, he has won, and he knows a victory tonight would put him in very good stead in the championship, but might not necessarily guarantee him the championship lead if Pedreño finishes in 2nd, like he is in qualifying at the moment. So this is going to be a very spicy part as we're heading into Chris's favourite part of the qualifying. We're heading into the Banzai phase now. And you can see the drivers flooding out of the pit lane once more to get onto their final runs.
Absolutely true. And top of, first driver over the line to start their final run is Mercedes driver Andre Tarabukin, who currently sits in 9th position, still with that 18.727 that matches the current champion Luke Smith. So then, what can he do? He's got some traffic as he's coming down towards the Rettifilio. The traffic staying very much out of the way, rides over the first curb and then over the second one. Nice, he keeps the car nice and steady as he plants his foot through the floor. Curva Grande hugs the inside line, even rides the curb a little bit to make sure he takes the shortest line possible. Then under the advertising gantry, heavy on the brakes for Del Loggia. Oh, and the tail's gone, and that's that lap dealt with. That's how narrow the margin is. Any tiny mistake is just going to spell the end of the lap. He will not have time now to get a fresh set of boots on. That is Tarabukin's day done for qualifying.
Yeah, that is going to be it for Tarabukin. We've had a prediction here from Yavi El Gamer saying one of the Spanish will do pole. Let us know in the chat everyone else who you think is going to get pole position. And if you want to do some predicting in the real world of Formula 1, make sure to check out our sponsors Grid Rival, a link down in the description. You can also check out our lead partners GT Omega. Use the code PSGL to get yourself 5% off all their gear. And I think the entire grid, they're looking to just maybe get 500ths off their lap time at the moment, and that could make a big, big difference. One of those, George Nader, the Lebanese driver, on a hot lap once more. Only found a tiny improvement on the previous one, and that was quickly beaten by Ruben Pedreño, but he is 1 and a bit tenths up now as he flings his way through the Ascari chicane. This is going to be his final lap in this session. He's going to be one of the first drivers to set that final lap in qualifying. Coming through the Parabolica now, George Nader, can he get on pole position for the first time this season. He had a podium in Austria. It's not gone too well for him since then. Maida, first man into the 118.4s.
Well, very nicely done. 118.458. And Alfie Butcher, his lap is done. He's already bowed out of it, I think. Vallejo has parked it. Has he parked it or stacked it? No, he's stacked it. Oh, that's trouble down at the first chicane, so that could put other people off their laps. Oh dear, oh dear. So a few more cars retiring. I think actually in the pit lane this time. Pedreño is on a lap. I'm going to follow the McLaren then through. Can he improve? He has just over a tenth of fun. I've just seen one of the Ferraris also parked at Ascari. So everybody is pushing very hard and too hard, it would seem, at various points in their attempts. Parabolica then for the McLaren. Can he keep the car settled? Is he going to complete the lap? No, that's into the pit lane for him. Baena, his lap is already invalid. I think that is everybody. Oh no, what about Joost Noordijk? Let's see. Someone's just jumped up the order. Oh, Joost Noordijk. It was Joost. 6th position for the second Aston Martin. Now, with the 16. An 18.6. 16. That would be very impressive. A 118.648 for Joost. Nicely done. But the pole position. Nicely done, George Nader with Alfie Butcher alongside. It's still a Williams 1-2, just reverse to how the session began.
Yeah, it is, and it is George Nader. He's had a flying time early on. We didn't know whether anyone would be able to match it. They did. They bettered it. But in the end, the final run from the Lebanese man, good enough to get him pole position with that 118.4. Alfie Butcher in second place. Ruben Pedreño in third. Baena fourth. And Vallejo in fifth. Both Williams and both McLarens up there. We'll see if they can get as much teamwork as they could possibly do in the race. 19 cars separated by half a second, and Floris Valles isn't too far out of that, if we're being perfectly honest. But it is George Nader on pole position then for the Italian Grand Prix. Could he possibly convert that to his first victory of the season, as we wait and see what all the standings and all the different orders are going to be from that qualifying session. Nader on pole position, Alfie Butcher in second, Ruben Pedreño in third, Iker Baena fourth, Vallejo fifth, Noordijk in sixth, Matthew Older is in seventh place, Will Lewis eighth, and all Hungarian, fifth row of the grid with Norbert Jakob and Ben Sabo-Konye. Luke Smith and Jack West 11th and 13th, making a Ferrari sandwich with the Mercedes meet of Andrei Tarabukin. Smith and Tarabukin setting identical times in that session. Gianna Kinchia 14th, Carter Lundy disappointed after his good result last week in 15th, losing 16th. Pookie crashed out early on. Wiesel is 18th, and then Laverty and Floris Valles will be back with the race after this short break. Yes, everybody, we are back with PSGL, back around the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, 100-year-old track, and still has that same fearsomely fast characteristics that it had back in the original days. You can see the DRS zones and the 11 corners that they'll be going around. It will be a one-stop strategy, and again, making sure that you keep yourself in that DRS train is so crucial on this game. And I think especially around here, and getting a good start is going to be crucial. We didn't talk much about that, Chris. It's a long run towards turn one.
That's the thing for Monza in particular. It's a long way down to the Rettifiglio, and because it's such a long way, you arrive there at a hell of a pace. So the opportunity or the chance for an incident is magnified somewhat. Are we going to have a rolling lap? No, we're not. It is time to get this race underway.
Yeah, the 5 lights go off then, and we are on the way for the Italian Grand Prix. What are the starts like from everyone? It seems like a very good start there from George Nader. Baena, Pedreño getting pretty close in the background, but it is going to be a Williams 1-2 still in towards the first corner. Nader leading, Butcher now coming under some severe pressure from Ruben Pedreño there. You can see the tyres that everyone has gone for. Oh, big spinner in the background. Not sure who that was. That was Ruben Vallejo dropping all the way down towards the back of the order. He smashed up some polystyrene boards. Thankfully, they're not breaking boards at that part of the circuit, but it has caused a virtual safety car. Both of the Alfa Romeos dropping down early on as well. And I think Alfie Butcher might be relieved by that VSC. He was starting to come under some pressure from Pedreño.
Yeah, very true. I was actually looking at Jack Laverty at the point that the polystyrene board detonated from the side of Vallejo's car. Yeah, both Alfa Romeos plummeted to the tail end of the field as well. Flores Valles opting for soft tyres. That's bold. We saw a bold strategy work last time out at Suzuka, but I think that's possibly a step too far. We will see. Everybody else opting to start on the harder tyres. Will our back three peel into the pits? We'll see. Wow, Ruben Vallejo almost actually overtaking Chanakinchi before the virtual safety car has been withdrawn. And I'm just going to keep an eye on the back three. Are either of them coming in? Oh dear, Matthew Alder speeding under the virtual safety car, and Ruben Vallejo has actually managed to overtake Chanakinchi at the perfect time, but both the Alphas are in. Ruben Vallejo has chosen to continue side by side into Rettifilia once again. Will Lewis and Luke Smith having an argument. Carter Lundy's suddenly fallen. Oh no, he's in trouble. The Alpine has had to go over the centre of the Rettifilio. And Danny Lusing has parked his car. He's taking no further part in this race. A big change for him. As and that's actually caused problems for Chanakinchi because they had to double stack, of course, because both cars came in at the same time. So Chan will not be happy about that, but it's Nader from Butcher from Pedreño, the top three.
Yes, and not only did Matthew Alder get that drive-through. Oh! Well, the Red Bull have got a bigger problem than a drive-through penalty now. Norbert Jakob is out of this race. He's lost it coming out of the second Lesbo. It can be a risky corner if you get it on the curbs there. Norbert Jakob slamming into the wall. And that is, I believe, that is another virtual safety car. Chanakinchi would have been begging, I think, for a full safety car because he is 48 seconds off the back of the field. It's going to be a long, long day for the Turkish driver, but yeah, I was just about to say, Alder's got a drive-through penalty, Will Lewis has got a drive-through penalty, and then Norbert Jakob, massive shunt into the wall, coming out of the second Lesbo, and he's one of 2 points finishers in a row. He's not going to make it free, and he's not going to make it a hat-trick here at Monza. He is out of this race, and you don't often see two VSCs in 2 laps.
No, that's very rare indeed. This does help Flores a little bit because it's going to put a bit less pressure on his soft tyres because they're not up to full racing speed just yet, although they're not actually that far off of full racing speed at the moment. VSC's still out there, so they do have a delta to maintain. They cannot go too quickly through the virtual safety car, or more penalties will be incurred, as Matt Alder and Will Lewis have found out the hard way. So we're just waiting for the VSC to be withdrawn. This, of course, does not help Chanakinchi whatsoever because he has a delta to maintain as well. If it was a full safety car, he'd be laughing because he would have a decent set of tyres strapped on and be able to catch the back of the pack. Of course, can't do that at the moment. Virtual safety car still in place, so we've just got to wait for DRS has now been enabled. We are racing once again here in Monza.
Yes, and apparently Will, his delta was saying that it was green, so such a shame for Will Lewis that has happened to him. He's going to be, I think, absolutely fuming with that. Really is going to knock him out of contention here. Will drop a long way down the back of the order, but you never know. Try something different on strategy. You might just get yourself further up the order. Because it's a VSC, DRS is enabled straight away, and this is the first time we're going to see any of the drivers using it, and it is poor George Dada that doesn't have the DRS at the moment. Will Lewis and Luke Smith getting very close to each other on the run down towards the first corner. Mercedes versus Ferrari. Mercedes has the inside line, and it is Will Lewis who takes 7th place in this race. Doesn't have too long, though, to him and Matthew, of course, to serve that drive-through penalty, and because you have to serve it within 3 laps, you can't get it removed either, so it's just unlucky for Alder and Lewis in that one. 2 former stalwarts of the PlayStation platform. Things, unfortunately, not going as well as they would have liked here on the PC. And interestingly, Flores Valles was almost in danger of dropping out of that train on that occasion. He's almost already 1 second behind everyone, which, you know, is not what he needs to be doing. He needs to be on the back of everyone and just flying at the moment.
Well, he's actually not long got past Max Wiesel as unsurprisingly, Chandler Kinchy gets the fastest lap. Ben Sabaconi and Luke West. That's Luke. I did this last season, muddled up Luke Smith and Jack West. So Luke had a bad exit from the second Lesmo. That's actually lost him 2 positions before getting to Ascari. Flores Valles was capitalising on a mistake from Max Wiesel as Max got really quickly coming out of Parabolica, and Flores then had an easy run past him as now the soft shot Haas is coming through that same section. George Nader reclaiming the fastest lap for himself at the moment. Into the pits to serve the drive-through penalties comes Alder and Lewis. Flores Valles, of course, with those soft tyres, getting the fastest lap to himself. And he's actually topped out 220 miles an hour. Big move on the inside of the first chicane. He's actually ghosted. So I'm a little surprised by that. So am I facing a desync issue? Because he's ahead of Andre Tarabukin. I know we have had this kind of problem before. But he suddenly ghosted then on my screen as it was coming past Andre Tarabukin.
Yeah, he did receive on my screen, and I don't think Andre will be too happy, A, about the fact that he's been passed by an invisible car, and B, about that contact as well. That was it was a big move from Flores Valles. Well, he's got to get past Luke Smith next, so he's dropping back, and as the eagle-eyed Will Gibson noted, Luke does have a missing front right end plate on the right-hand side of that front wing, and starting on the hard tyres, it's never ideal. It is always at risk. If you start on the harder rubber for the ideal one-stop strategy, and you get damage early on, too early to pit and chase to the mediums, and it's too early to obviously, if you do, you can't pit onto the hards because you've got to use 2 different types of tyres. So just a bit of a tough job now for Luke Smith to see how much he can hold on, but I think Flores will be getting past him sooner rather than later, and I'd imagine without a lot of contact either, and it seems like the chart isn't too happy with that move there from Flores Valles. Further up at the start of the field, are we going to see a swap between the Williams? We are not. Things are staying nice and steady between them. Tarabukin, Smith and Valles going 3 wide here. Down the inside goes Andre Tarabukin. There's a bit more contact between the two of them. Tarabukin's just getting bullied off the road here. He is going to be absolutely furious by the way things are turning out.
And then bounces off the side of Ethan Pukin now several times as they're coming through Curva Grande. They're still side by side now coming into the Daudelogia. The AlphaTauri still on the inside line of the Mercedes. No, Tarabukin finally gets past as Luke Smith has just actually gotten past, or trying to get past, but Flores Valles into the first Lesmo. So it could be that those soft tyres have had enough. Even though they've had 2 slower laps, it could be that the best has gone out of those soft tyres. Here comes Luke Smith then with the wounded Ferrari. It's just mugged the Haas. Max Wiesel trying the same thing inside line coming into Ascari, and there's no grip left on that Haas. Flores Valles is all over the place. And Max has gone past him. Andre Tarabukin has now lost that position to East Van Pookie. So lots of battling in this midfield pack. I would think Flores is going to be in the pits, if not this time, then certainly on the next.
I mean, he's tried something different. It wouldn't surprise me if he's got floor or side pod damage, because he's had plenty of bumping. Hopefully, Butcher can pull off a cleaner move as well. Down the inside he goes on his teammate, and that is Alfie Butcher into the lead of this race. Jack West and Ben Sabaconi also swapping around. The top 5 have managed to break away from the pack slightly, and then you've got a big gap back to Wiesel, Smith, Pookie and the rest, because obviously Flores and all the moves he's been having, and Luke Smith somehow with half a front wing managing to get ahead of him briefly. Yeah, very well done there from Luke Smith, but this tactic, this strategy has not worked out for Flores Valles. He's on the hard tyres, but he could find it very difficult towards the end of the race on those, because they will be heavily worn indeed. And Smith not doing too bad of a job, I think, to keep everyone behind him, but did have the DRS on the last few laps, so things might just get that little bit harder. We're still quite a long way away, I think, before we are going to see any of the drivers heading into the pits. At least another 7 or 8 laps, I'd imagine, before we see drivers ditching these hard tyres and going onto those set of mediums towards the end. Butcher, Nader, Pedreño, Baena and Nordyke, top 5 as we stand.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Luke. I think another 7-ish, 14, 15 before the hard starters are going to think about coming in, unless they have damage, of course. I'm riding on board with Ika Baena in 4th position, watching the front 5 just kind of staying in each other's slipstream. We're not seeing a lot of really heavy pushing at the moment. Alfie Butchers actually has a full ERS battery, which is unusual for the leader to do. Also bearing in mind that you only have 2 fairly significant braking zones, and they're both into chicanes. One into the Rettifilo, one into Del Rosia. So recharging ERS energy is very, very difficult here in Monza. So energy management is absolutely crucial. As Joost Noordijk got very, very squiggly indeed coming out of the Del Rosia, almost pitched his car into the wall. So he was lucky. Well, I say lucky. He caught that one very, very quickly. But that probably woke him up a little bit. So it's dropped him a little bit off the back of the top four. But he'll be able to close that back down. Ike Baena thought he was getting close to Ruben Pedreño on that occasion, but nothing happening just yet. People just minding their own business up front at the moment. Is Ben Sabaconi? Well, he's used about half of his energy at the moment. He's probably trying to close in on that top 5, and he's dragging Jack West with him.
Yeah, he is dragging Jack West with him at the moment, and if Noordijk starts making a few more mistakes, that's going to change how things play out. So we'll wait and see how things are working further up the order. A bit back down. Luke Smith, unfortunately, again, obviously finding things very difficult. Wouldn't surprise me if he's one of the first drivers to pitch onto a set of mediums. We did see cars yesterday even going for a set of softs. A couple of drivers choosing something completely different in our PCF1 race, and Smith's still got some decent straight line speed in that Ferrari. Down the inside goes Istvan Pukki, getting very close. We almost had a Verstappen Hamilton repeat from last year there, but Istvan Pukki is now up in towards 9th place, and he'll set his sights on Max Wiesel, who has got away from this train slightly and is about 1.4 seconds ahead at the moment. So you've got different options if you're the likes of Pedreño, Baena, Noordijk at the moment. You're stuck in this train, you've got to think of doing something different. Do you come in a bit earlier for the mediums, say lap 12 number 13, or do you stretch it out longer until about lap 17 or 18 and put on a set of softs at the end? It'll be intriguing to see if these drivers, do try something which might not be the optimal strategy if you're running in free air, but if you feel like you can go faster at the moment, and Baena, he's also got a full battery, a bit like Butcher. Clearly, if you burn all that battery in some free traffic, you can pull off a fantastic undercut.
You could, but I can't imagine anyone's going to go for the softs. There's a bit too much of a tyre muncher, this circuit, to make the softs work. But then I've been proven wrong many, many times on tyre strategy, as we've got side by side now. Tara Buchanan and Smith coming into Parabolica. Laverty and Lundy are waiting to make Luke Smith's day even worse as the wounded Ferrari continues to hobble on its way. Luke Smith did not have DRS there, as Jack Laverty is now banzaied past him coming into the Rettifilo. Luke Smith had to kind of give way there. He tried to turn in with an AlphaTauri already there. Carter Lundy just biding his time. Ruben Vallejo is not too far off the back of them, so could well get involved in that battle before too long. Ben Sabaconi is losing time to the top 5. Again, he's got no one to slipstream off of, and it's very, very important to maintain that slipstreaming effect here in Monza to try and close in on anybody. So, of course, Ben Sabaconi does not have that advantage, and Jack West is actually still, looks like he's having to push quite hard to keep up with the future esports driver of Ben Sabaconi, but we will see as the race goes on. I would think, going back to your earlier point, Luke, I think the undercut's far more likely than those trying to make the harder tyres last to softs. If we were facing wetter, if we're facing possibility of rain, perhaps, but the clouds just don't look like they're going to give us any perspiration whatsoever. So I think we're going to see, if we're going to see a different strategy run, it's going to be an undercut strategy that will be used.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the right thing to say, as Jack West not too interested in going for that move on bench of Sabaconi. His teammate, Luke Smith, dropped a bit further back behind Carter Lundy, so 12th and 13th. The Alpine and the Ferrari having a swap, and Will Lewis and Matthew Older also having their own little ding-dong further down the field. Sabaconi and Jack West both on for their best results of the season. So far, it's not been an ideal season for the Haas and the Ferrari. Only 1 point score each, with an 8th place in Miami for Jack West and a 9th place in our first round at Austria for Bencha Sabaconi. Both of them on for their best results, but as Chris said, they are dropping back a bit from those front 5, and in fact, Max Wiesel was 1.3 seconds behind. He's now 1.8 behind the Ferrari, so whether Max is just pushing hard to try and get himself further up the order. A reminder that going into this race, any one of Ruben, Luke, Alfie, Max, Joost, Christoph Scheller, would have been Simon Perigny and Duncan Hoffland as well if they'd have attended. Any one of those could end up leading the championship at the end of tonight. it's looking not too bad for Alfie at the moment in the lead of this race with George Nader just staying calm in second place behind him. And we've not seen this loads so far this season, but we've got, Williams, both of their cars up towards the front, Aston Martin, both of their cars up the front. They've got to be communicating to make sure they get this strategy right.
Oh, now that's early. That's earlier than I was expecting. Jack West has brought his car in. That's going to be medium tyres going on the Ferrari, which it certainly is. That's earlier than I was expecting, but we'll see if he can make that one work. Will Lewis getting the fastest lap on the board then, as he's decided to press on. Also, Max Wiesel has next to pretty much no battery energy whatsoever. So he probably has pushed to try and close in on Ben Sabaconi and what was Jack West, but he's now got nothing. He's also going to find that very, very, very hard to recharge. For what I was saying earlier, there's just only one huge braking zone into the Redifilio, and if he keeps using energy to try and close in up front, that is going to make it even worse, as Matthew Alder is determined to give himself as many obstacles as possible, as he's now the first to get a penalty on the board for track limits.
Yeah, he is the first one we've seen. Obviously got that earlier penalty for a drive-through penalty alongside Will Lewis, but things have been pretty clear and quick at the moment. Jess joining us saying, I'm surprised that Jack pitted earlier than everyone else. It's one of those where we always wondered would drivers pit round about lap 11, but I think I, like Chris and like yourself, Jess, thought that was probably just a tiny bit too early, as we said we might see something different from those further up the order. Pedreño and Baena, both of those now coming into the pits at the end of lap number 12. Tawabuking in as well. Medium tyres on. We'll see how powerful this undercut works for these drivers, because they should come out in relatively free air. And I think Pedreño has been holding the pit lane there. Disaster for the McLaren. He's behind Baena.
Oh dear. So where are they going to come out in relation to Jack West? Jack's now coming down the start-finish straight. So looks like they are going to come out ahead. They did have a bit of a gap beforehand, but that is going to put Pedreño into the clutches of the Ferrari, or has he managed to come out ahead enough that he doesn't have to fend off DRS? Well, yes, he has, but look how far behind Iker Baena that's put Ruben Pedreño. That's 2 seconds between the McLaren and the Aston Martin. He is going to have to push very hard to close that back down, as Chana Kinchi is into the pits that's the second time the Alfa Romeo has been in. It's probably because those medium tyres have got nothing left. He's actually put his starting tyres back on. Okay, fair enough. So hard tyres to the end for Chana Kinchi, for the Turkish driver.
Yeah, we'll see if any of the lead Williams come in as well. And there we go, Alfie Butcher into the pits at the end of lap number 13. Joost Noordijk as well. So out of that lead quintet that we've had earlier on, it is only George Nader that is staying out. And there's a few drivers, there's a few people in the chat. Lefter Javi saying pitting on lap number 12 has worked for a winner in F4, and it worked for Joni Tormola yesterday on his way to a top 5 finish. So that might just be the optimum time to come into the pits, and we'll see where Alfie Butcher comes out relative to some of these other drivers. You can see Iker Baena there. He's just going to streak alongside of the Williams all of a sudden, headed into turn number 1. Who's going to be in the lead here? Is it going to be Baena? Is it going to be Butcher? The Spaniard's trying to hold it on the inside. He's just about got the move done. Who is going to get the better traction, though, towards the Curva Grande? Baena is ahead of the Williams, and Baena takes the net race lead.
Yeah, absolutely. That was quite hard fought. And Alfie Butcher giving his car a bit of a wiggle to try and get his tyres up to temperature quicker, because Baena's teammate is looming large in Alfie Butcher's wing mirrors. So he's now going to have to work hard to defend against the other Aston Martin, who themselves are dragging Ruben Pedreño along with them, as Will Lewis has added his name to the penalty board. So again, their day's just going from bad to disastrous. So of course, those two serving early drive-throughs are now on the first ones on the 3-second penalty board. In comes Nader. Is Van Pookie going to follow? Well, Eastman was about 9 seconds back. Yes, he does. Jack Laverty? No, Jack has chosen to continue. Carter Lundy is in. Vallejo has opted to continue as well. So 2 cars yet to see the pit from the hard starters. Where is George going to appear in relation to the rest? Well, Will Lewis hasn't pitted yet, so he is going to jump ahead. Matthew Alder hasn't pitted yet, and that puts George Nader just ahead. Oh, only just ahead of Iker Baena. So the top four, or what will become the top four, is Williams, Aston, and Alfie Butcher was almost pushing the Spaniard coming into Curva Grande. Now, is Alfie going to banzai the inside of De Roger? He's getting close. He had a bit of a think about it, but to bow out of that one, he's nudged the back of the Aston. That could cause damage to the front wing of the Williams. The winglets look like they're there on my screen, so it may have gotten away with it, but that's never ideal. But it's certainly a signal of intent from Alfie Butcher. He's really pressing on. Now Pedreño is involved in this particular pack, and Jack West is just about hanging on in there. But now Jack has got the same problem Max Wiesel did earlier. He's got nothing left in the battery, and he's not quite in DRS range, so that is going to could spell disaster for Jack West.
It could do indeed. He needs these drivers in front of him to really start battling quite hard, which they have been doing. I mean, look at that. Alfie Butcher's alongside Baena going into the parabolic, and there's contact. Baena is off. Nordyke goes through, and Pedreño is going to have an absolutely lovely run on his fellow countryman. Just thank you very much. Ooh, that could be a controversial one later on tonight in the stewards' room. But it is now Nader, Butcher and Nordyke, your effectual top three in this race. Will Lewis and Matthew Alder have still yet to come into the pits. We'll be doing so for the medium tyres. We said we expected the undercut to be the best thing, but that battling we saw into the Retabilio between the Williams of Alfie Butcher and the Aston Martin of Iker Baena has that possibly just allowed George Nader to get a chance to win this race, because he's got the fresher tyres at the moment. We'll see if he's got the pace to hold off, especially once he's not in the DRS of Lewis and Alder, as that's Joost Nordyke who's got ahead of Alfie Butcher.
Yeah, coming through the first Lesmo as well. That's a bit unusual. You don't often see a move there. Oh, I didn't see what caused that, whether that was a mistake from out. The Red Bull of Matt Alder is sizing up Will Lewis as well. Of course, those two have yet to pit. I'm not sure what happened to Alfie there. I was looking a little bit further down the field to see if there were any other battles brewing, and suddenly the Aston of Joost has taken what will become second position once our remaining hard starters pit, which they have opted not to do. Have they gone for the strategy you were suggesting, Luke? Are they going to try and string this out for soft tyres? I can't see it working, but we will see, as George then has managed to get ahead of Will Lewis. I guess with the 3-second penalty they've got already to their name, they're trying something different. Why not give it a try? They're going to plummet through the field anyway, so you never know. If they get a safety car or something like that, it could really work in their favour. We will see. But George Nader has now taken over the race lead, with Joost Nordyke now next to take on the remaining hard starters of Will Lewis and Matt Alder.
Yeah, and it's worth a gamble, like you said, for Lewis and Alder. If they do the same as everyone else, they're not getting any points, so why not try something different? What them staying in the field has allowed to do, though, it's allowed George Nader to get a bit of a lead. I mean, if we just get the gap up there, 1.3 seconds now, the gap between Nader and Nordyke, going up to about 1.4, and he's still not managed to work his way past Matthew Alder yet. These two had many battles over the years on the PlayStation platform, CRG Blizzard versus VSR Yoast. They're transferring these battles over onto the PC as well, but you've got to think, sooner rather than later, Nordyke has to make this move, otherwise Nader is just going to be streaking on towards the distance and getting his first victory of the season, meaning we will have had 5 different victors in the first 6 races. Can Alfie Butcher or Ruben Pedreño get themselves up to get what would be either their 3rd or 2nd victories respectively, but it is still, with 10 laps to go, Nader, Lewis, Alder, Nordyke and Butcher, your top 5. Pedreño, Baena, West not too far back either. Jack West has managed to get himself back within DRS range, and he's now managing to save a bit more ERS. As you can see, still again there, Matthew Alder, those hard tyres might be 17 laps old, but he's still getting good traction when he needs it, and Nordyke can't get close enough.
No, indeed, and they're running out of straight line speed along the start-finish straight. That's something else I'm noticing. People are actually topping out before they get to the braking zone of the Rettividios. So whether they're in slipstream or not, the car won't go any quicker. So if they're not getting the move done at the early part of the start-finish straight, it can't be done. The car's got nothing left. So that is catching a few people out. I saw Alfie Butcher top out around 217 miles an hour. Yes, I'm British and work in Imperial. Well, I make no apologies for that whatsoever, actually. So Alfie's actually running out, I think, a little earlier than the Aston is. I'll keep an eye on what Joost Noordijk is topping out at. He didn't have a good exit from the Parabolica at all, as now he's climbing to the top end of his rev range. Yeah, he didn't quite top out that time, but there may have been a bit of an impact there was between Butcher and Noordijk coming into the Rettifilio, but no harm, no foul on that occasion. But exactly as you say, Luke, George Nader is capitalising on that. He could even back off a little bit just to make sure he's got some decent life left in those tyres towards the end of the race. Should he need it? At the moment, he won't. The field is just simply too far back.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job at the moment. Like I said, he's doing everything. He's doing everything that he needs to do, and those hards are working quite well. I think it was just coming through the Rettifilio there. Matthew not quite getting the turn in that he expected, so perhaps just getting a bit of understeer. And that is why Noordijk tapped the back of Older, and the cars are that close together. You had the inevitable concertina effect, but thankfully, no damage done. And maybe that's why Pedreño's just quite happy to hang a bit further back on this occasion. He does not want to be caught out by anything. Let's not forget, modern F1 cars with the hybrid engines have fixed gear ratios. If this had been if this had been F1 2013, streaming it would have looked very different indeed, but they didn't have fixed gear ratios back then. You could adjust things. Ever since the hybrid era, you've just got to work with what you've got around every single track, and they would love to just go a bit longer on that top gear at the moment just to get a bit more speed down the start-finish straight. And you can see, for whatever reason, Matthew Older there is just managing to pull away at the top end. And again, Older going a tiny bit deep into the Rettifilio, but gets away with it on this occasion. Further back, we've got still plenty of battling happening further down the field. Ruben Vallejo and Flores Fires have had their own issues in this race, and that is Vallejo up into 15th. Soft to hard strategy, certainly not the one today. And in the battle for the final points positions at the moment, it is Andrei Tavabukin who has jumped Max Wiesel in the pit stop period. So Tavabukin, if he sees the checkered flag for the first time, touch wood for him, might just get his first point of the season. And I mean, like you said, this is a dream situation for Nader. He's effectively 2.5 seconds ahead of his next main rival for this race victory.
Yeah, absolutely so. I'm also looking at the gap between Ben Sabaconi and Jack West. I think it has been coming down very, very slightly as the laps have continued. I'll keep a closer eye on it to see if that is actually the case. Now, Joost Noordijk again getting a little bit closer to Matt Older and nearly slammed into the back of the Red Bull. Now, whilst the gear ratios may be fixed, I'm sort of keeping an eye on them, and that Red Bull was able to get to about 220, whereas the Aston and the Williams looked like they topped out around 217, so there is definitely a pace difference there. I mean, what it's down to, I don't know. I don't drive in F1, as again, Matt Older managed to get up to speed. Getting it back down from the speed has been a bit of a problem. Side by side between Matt Older and Joost Noordijk. But that extra accelerative power of the Red Bull has again saved that third position for Matt Older. Now, some people may say, why is Older fighting Joost Noordijk so hard? Reason, he's allowed to. It's for position. He's not a lapped car. If he was a lapped runner, he'd be in all sorts of trouble now. But that is for position. Yes, is he realistically in that battle? Probably not. But at the end of the day, he's not doing anything wrong. He is still keeping a position he has earned on merit. Now, they are going to have to come into the pits at some point, unless they're just going to carry on going and disqualify themselves. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen that in PSGL, but you would imagine they're going to come in. Surely they're going to come in this time around. The soft tyres will probably last that long, but they're going to be at the back. They're not going to have enough race left to make the soft tyres work, in my opinion. But, we'll see what they do. Are they going to come in this time? Nope, they're going to carry on going, carry on regardless. And this will be frustrating Joost Noordijk to absolute death. And again, the Red Bull nails himself to that inside line, which he's perfectly entitled to do. Now Joost is going to be forced to the outside line coming into the Rettifilio. A little bit of a tap between the two. But Matt Older's got nothing left to defend with, and Alfie Butcher sneaks through as well. So that is now third and fourth for Joost and Alfie Butcher respectively. And Ruben Pedreño has also managed to sneak through in the McLaren on the Red Bull, before they get through Cabo Grande, but that's actually given Will Lewis a bit of breathing space. Again, that will undo itself when Will eventually pits, as now Ika Baena has managed to sneak through on the inside of Lesmo One. A good move there from the second Aston Martin. So it's put Matt Alder from 3rd to 7th in the space of 1 lap.
Yeah, but this is what happens when you get forced offline slightly, especially on the harder tyres. It is so difficult when they are at this tyre age. Jack West now shoots himself up in towards 7th. He will get promoted to 6th because Will Lewis has to come into the pits. And Will also has a 3-second penalty alongside Matthew Alder, alongside Jack Laverty as well. And I think it was the race on the PSGL PlayStation platform a couple of seasons ago. I saw Will Lewis go 25 laps at Silverstone, just waiting for that safety car, which never came. I wonder if he's hoping for something similar here. But with 5 laps to go, one man who's desperately hoping there is no safety car is George Nader, the Lebanese driver. He said already got a podium at Austria at round number 1 of the season. Things have not worked well for him so far since then. It's not looking too bad at the moment. 2.1 seconds ahead of Will Lewis, who is now coming under close attention from Joost Noordijk. Alfie Butcher in 4th, Pedreño, Baena, West, Sabaconi, Tarabukin, Wiesel and Alder, who is just absolutely tanking down the field here now. Is Matthew Alder. Doesn't look like he's got a puncture, but he's just finding things really tough as that's Alder. That's Max Wiesel up ahead and Tarabukin getting very close. And oh my God, I don't even want to think about what's happening there on screen. George Morgan would be calling things absolutely diabolical, so we're not going to look at that anymore. We're going to look at the battle between Noordijk and Lewis.
If it's any consolation, I've got exactly the same here. As whoa, as Matt Alder nearly lost it on the exit of the second Lesmo and almost ploughed into the wall. But he continues to fall through the field as the medium shot cars continue to pour past him. What that has done is it's brought Ben Sabaconi into the essentially what will be that battle for second, as Jack Laverty and Andre Tarabukin now swap round. I suspect they were affected a bit by that desync with Matt Alder. Is Joost going to go for a move on Will? Will's come into the pits. So finally that Mercedes has given up on a safety car and into the pits for a set of the red marked soft tyres. The damage is done. Matt Alder has come in as well. He's had enough of how his car's behaving. Fair play for lasting that long. Alfie Butcher has managed to nail Joost Noordijk going through the Retafilio. So the Williams driver didn't hang around and got the move done. But has Joost got enough to counter-attack? He's getting closer, coming up to the Del Roger. Nearly nudges the back of the Williams. The battle for second continues apace with only 4 laps to go. Anything that's left in the tyres and in the ERS is now going to be fully deployed.
I mean, are Joost tyres toast? Has he spent too long stuck behind Matthew Alder, fighting really hard? You can see how much he's burned through his ERS. He's on 17%, Alfie Butcher's on 46%, Ruben Pedreño 87%. So even though Ruben's in the DRS train here, I'd give himself a 50-50 shot of managing to get his way ahead of Joost Noordijk if he can get close enough through the corners. And it doesn't look like he's able to do it at the moment, because Ika Baena, who was in a net second place earlier on, we thought would be in a net lead until George Nader pulled off a fantastic overcut around this Monza circuit, surprising myself and Chris. And then Baena had that contact with Butcher, and that is why he is now down in towards 5th place. But Alfie Butcher, he drove away for the rest of the field last week with 3 laps to go. It is his teammate in that position now, and Alfie Butcher's going to have a lot more defending to do. Joost Noordijk, I think with that lack of ERS, just obviously there, topping out earlier on the straight. I think there's been contact between Pedreño and Noordijk.
Joost caught it, but that's going to drop him right off the back of Alfie Butcher. Alfie will be smiling and counting his lucky stars on that one. But is that going to now shake up the chasing cars of Baena, West, and now Ben Sabaconi? Are they now going to try and capitalise? Do they smell a bit of blood in the water? We will see. George Nader, 3.5 seconds of the good. He's, consider him done. He's long gone unless he throws it into the wall on his own accord. Alfie Butcher could well have been handed second, and we will still have 2 and a bit laps to go, so maybe a bit early to make that prediction, but that could be the break he needed, because he's been able to get his battery back up to around about 60%, and in fairness, actually Joost is still hanging on to about 33%, so he's actually quite cleverly just crawling back up to the tail end of Alfie Butcher, as Matt Alder has doubled his penalty count now, as several drivers with penalties on the board now. So there's Jack Laverty, Ruben Vallejo, Will Lewis, and Matt Alder on the penalty board. And Joost is now he's got to regain his composure. He's got to keep patient as he again nearly slams into the back of the Williams coming into the rest of video. Ethan Puki's just gotten past Max Wiesel for 8th position. He can see this group arguing for 2nd position as Vallejo and Carter Lundy still side by side coming through the first chicane as Luke Smith has brought the Ferrari back into the pits again. Is that the end of his race? Well, no, he's having a tyre change to soft tyres. Yeah, we'll see what he can do as Carter Lundy and Ruben Vallejo still side by side into the down loggia. The Canadian had to bow out of that one as Ruben Vallejo managed to get the traction exactly where he needed it to secure that 12th position for now. That battle is not done though, as the race continues with 1.5 laps to go.
Yeah, the race does continue. I mean, Vallejo and Carter Lundy on the lap before. I think there was a tiny bit of contact between the two of them coming into the Ascari chicane, so both of the McLarens having an interesting lap. A couple of laps ago, Carter Lundy now picking up a time penalty. Today's definitely been an off day for Carter. There's been other races where he's had the pace but not got points for whatever reason. Today has just not gone as he would have liked, as Alfie Butcher stakes his way down the straight. He's on to the final lap. His teammate is 3.5 seconds up the road. Can Joost Noordijk get close enough? Can Joost Noordijk throw one down the inside? No, he cannot. Ika Baena very close to the back of Ruben Pedreño as well, but things are just staying even between them. Wiesel and Laverty are battling. Jack Laverty gets himself up into 9th place, but unless he can get that penalty removed, it is going to count for naught. And Wiesel and Tawabukin just about, depending whether Tawabukin can stay within 3 seconds, should pick up some points in this race, as again Butcher having to drive defensively at the moment. Again, Joost Noordijk doing everything he can to get himself up in towards 2nd place. This will still continue his run of scoring a podium in every race that he has done all season. But there's still a couple of corners to go, and most importantly, there is the Variante Ascari. DRS Open on Noordijk, DRS Open on Pedreño and Baena. Further back, Benji Sabaconi's cut right up to the back of Jack West and Jack Laverty and Istvan Pukki swap around for 8th and 9th. Sabaconi running wide off the circuit then. I think things are going to stay as they are at the front of the field, and it is George Nader who rounds the final corner here at Monza to take victory in PSGL F2. Nader wins. It is going to be a 1-2 for Williams, with Butcher in 2nd. Noordijk beats Pedreño by 91 thousandths of a second. And you can see there Jack Laverty just doing enough further back to secure the final point.
Wow, what a yet another absolutely fantastic race. Some interesting strategy decisions from some, but yeah, it was worth the gamble at the end of the day. If a safety car had come out, that it could well have swung to their favour. It was worth a go, but commiserations to Norbert Jakob and Danny Lusink. Sadly, they didn't see the flag. Giannicinci is going to be the last man over the line. His race has gone from bad to disastrous, as he's going to be, some 10 seconds behind Luke Smith. But what a brilliant, fastest lap to Luke Smith with his fresh set of tyres on his car towards the end. But brilliant stuff from the Williams pair. And Joost Noordijk, wow, it's, exactly as you say, a podium for every race he's been in. Continues his championship challenge quite nicely.
Yeah, it was not bad whatsoever there, was it, for Joost? Jack Levitt's getting drive for the day, I think, for his pace at the end of the race there. You know, he's definitely got to be a contender. He's got to be up there, but George Nader taking the victory from pole position. Well, pole position. We've seen Williams drivers do that at every race they've been on pole this season, and that makes it sound like it was pretty straightforward. In the first stint, definitely not, but things going a lot better in the second stint there for George Nader. Alfie Butcher in second, and Joost Noordijk, as we said, securing that third position. The Williams drivers spraying the champagne on the podium, and as they might as well, because I just believe, if I do some quick maths in my head, I believe that might have given Williams the lead in the Constructors' Championship as well. Not a bad day for the Grove-based squad. As we take a look at the rest of our provisional results then, as we'll wait for them to come onto our screen, it was Ruben Pedreño who finished in fourth position at the end of that one, and in fact it now says migrating host, so who knows if we'll ever get the results on screen. So we'll quickly hop back to the cameras, but Chris, you know, superb race there, and George Nader taking advantage of the fact he was able to get ahead of Will Lewis and Matthew Alder earlier on.
Absolutely. So I've got the results of the top 14 because I took a quick snapshot of those. So George Nader, as we know, taking the top spot, 3.9 seconds ahead of Alfie Butcher in the end, being chased home by Joost Noordijk for the final podium position. Ruben Pedreño in fourth, chased home by his countryman Ike Baena in fifth, Jack West in sixth, Ben Sabaconi in seventh, Eastman Pookie in eighth, Max Wiesel 9, and Jack Laverty rounding out the top 10. Starting 19th as well, so that's why Jack got the Driver of the Day award there. Very nicely done indeed. With Andre Tarabuc in 11, Ruben Vallejo 12, Flores Vias 13th, and Carter Lundy in 14th. Fortunately, I didn't get a shot of below that, so well done to our surviving drivers at least, as we did lose a couple in the course of the race. But what a great race yet again were we treated to here at PSGL F2.
Yeah, thankfully the results did come on screen right at the end, so you can just see towards the tail end of the field there, Luke Smith recovering from that front wing damage earlier on to set the fastest lap. I mean, it was a hectic start to the race. We had two VSCs earlier on, Will Lewis and Matthew Alder getting that drive-through penalty under the VSC, and then at the end of the day, you know, that did have a direct effect on the race because George Nader was able to clear the traffic, Joost wasn't, and as soon as he dropped outside of DRS range, as we said it was going to be the case around here, you're probably not getting back into it.
No, that's always the hard task. And again, you look at those that didn't manage to reclaim positions from where they started. Ruben Pedreño, Ike Baena started third and fourth and finished fourth and fifth respectively. Joost was started sixth and finished third from that top group. So Jack West started 13th and ended up in sixth. So he did well to battle that far up. So, I mean, Driver of the Day should really go three ways between Eastman Pookie, Max Wiesel and Jack Laverty because they all gained the same number of positions, starting 17th, 18th and 19th and finishing 8th, 9th and 10th respectively. So capitalising on others' mistakes, certainly, but doing a great job to stay out of trouble, broadly speaking, themselves. And we have got some people ready to speak to us, Mr. Etheridge.
Yeah, it's always nice when they decide to pop in to the waiting for interview booth, so let's quickly drag them across. We have got our race winner and our man who finished in third place. We have got George Nader and Joost Noordijk, but we are going to start with the man who took the victory. It was George. First victory of the season for yourself, George. First podium since Austria. Getting ahead of Will and Matthew proved to be crucial.
Yeah, indeed. Just a correction, I took the win on track on Austria, but the pen, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll probably use it as a moral boost. But anyways, yeah, it was crucial to get through by Matthew and Will. And what helped me is Alfie did a mistake into the turn 4. So yeah, I saw that, you know, I could maybe overtake Matthew earlier than planned, and which was the case, and it paid off at the end.
Yeah, it definitely did pay off at the end. Tell us about your strategy. Obviously, Alfie was the car ahead, so he had, you know, first dibs on coming into the pit stop. Were you expecting the overcuts to be effective?
To be fair, I was not gonna lie, I was quite unsure because I remember in practice the undercut was quite good, but I also saw yesterday's race in F1 where Barry literally overcutted as well the train. So we planned before, like 5-6 laps before pitting, that the car ahead goes in first, and then obviously the car that follows goes the following lap. But luckily I got a good in lap and it paid off.
Yeah, it definitely did pay off. Heading into next week, it is going to be Imola this time around. Next time around, we know it's a tough race for overtaking. We know it's a tough circuit for driving around. How do you think you'll do around there?
I have no idea, to be fair, because I'm yet to drive it this game. Last game I was quite quick there. So I hope I could get my season started again this time, because the last 3 races I haven't scored any points. And I'm only, I think, 19 points behind in the championship. So I hope I could kick off my season well.
Yeah, definitely kicked things off well tonight. So, George, we'll let you head off. Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you so much.
And next up, it is going to be Joost Noordijk, the man who continued his run of getting a podium in every race he's taken part in. Chris, take it away.
Oh, Joost, it's great to chat to you again. You've had a bit of a mixed season thus far. You've got to be quite pleased to be back on the podium.
Yeah, I'm very happy, of course, with the podium. for now, I've just every race I drove, I had a podium, so consistency is there. And I'm also very happy that I'm on the pace that quickly after a 2.5 week break, summer holiday. So yeah, pleased with that.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's what I was meaning by mixed season, is that you've done well when you've been able to race, but that it doesn't seem to be slowing you down. It's almost like you're giving everybody a chance by not being here for a while. Does it? Do you really notice when you've not been able to race for a few while? How easy is it for you to get back into the swing of things?
I think the most difficult thing is the consistency. Also, this track has some RNG corners, like turn 4 over the curb. So I was a bit struggling with that, and Italy is not my best track in quali. In the race is always pretty good. Race pace was also pretty good, to be honest. Yeah.
And we head over to Imola for round 7. Does Imola kind of treat you as well as Monza does? Is that one you're looking forward to?
I don't know. Imola is just quite a fun track to drive, but I'm not very quick around there, so I need to practice a bit more for that, but I think it will go well.
You heard it here first, folks. We look forward to chatting to you again. It's always great to see your performance, and you have not let us down one bit. Thank you very much, Joost Noordijk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to George and Joost for joining us. Unfortunately, Alfie is unable to, and as we alluded to during those interviews, next time around it is going to be, well, we're staying in Italy. We've not got far to go to the Emilia-Romagna region. It is going to be Imola rather than Abu Dhabi. Imola's been moved forward in the season, and Saudi Arabia is replacing Abu Dhabi in a couple of weeks' time. Imola, old school circuit, punishes mistakes, and very, very difficult to overtake on.
Yes, indeed. So, again, we'll have to see some great pressure management from the drivers. A few more braking zones, so energy management is not quite as crucial as it is at Monza. But exactly as you say, Luke, overtaking is very difficult. So, pressure management and some creative driving, hopefully, obviously, within the bounds of the law and within sensible racing, is what we have to look forward to when we head over to Monza next time around.
Yeah, it should definitely be a fantastic race. If you've not had enough, though, of the mania that Monza seems to cause in every tier so far, you can, of course, check out our PlayStation tiers, the lower ones on the Sunday, the top tiers on the Monday, with Jess Ball and our Aidan Carter taking you through the action there. Candidaco continue his fantastic run this season. Can he get a victory at his home race? We've got GT7 action as well. Gran Turismo with the 2 tiers there on Tuesday. They'll be racing around the Dragon Trails Garden Circuit. And PSGL F1 PC, of course, next week at Imola. Can Lucas Blakely, after his teammate was involved in a collision with Freddie Rasmussen yesterday, can the Flying Scotsman secure the championship? And will it mean for the first time ever, Jarno Opmeer is not lifting the PC F1 Championship? Dan Field and Jack Canaan taking you through that one next week at Wednesday at 7 p.m. Thanks to Chris for joining me in the commentary box tonight. Thanks as well to Joost and George for joining us. Make sure to check out Grid Rival down in the description, and our lead partners here, GT Omega, who provided these lovely chairs for us. And if you want them as well, use the code PSGL to get 5% off. And thanks so much to all you lovely folk for watching. We will see you in a week's time at Imola. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega and Grid Rival, proudly supporting PSGL.